Okay, we have all been there. You're just walking through your house, minding your own business, and then you see it. A crack. And your mind just instantly jumps to the absolute worst case scenario, right? Is the whole house falling down? Is this going to cost me a fortune? It is a moment of pure, uncut homeowner anxiety.
So you found that crack, and now you're staring at it, faced with the big question. Is this just a little harmless line in the paint, or is it a serious warning sign, a red flag that some much bigger, much more expensive problem is brewing down in your foundation? Well, that is exactly what we're going to figure out together in this explainer.
So, forget the panic. We're going to push that aside. Instead, we're going to turn you into a kind of home detective. We'll walk through a simple, methodical investigation that you can do all by yourself. And by the end, trust me, you'll have a way clearer picture of what you're dealing with and a solid plan for what to do next.
Every good investigation starts by finding that one critical clue. And for us, it all boils down to a single, really important measurement. This one little number is your first and honestly your most powerful indicator of whether you should be worried.
And there it is, 1/8 of an inch. Any crack that measures 1/8 of an inch or wider, well, that automatically gets promoted to a red flag that needs your full attention. This is the magic number, the threshold where professionals really start to pay close attention, especially when we're talking about foundation walls.
Now, measuring this isn't just about a quick glance. To do it right, you gotta grab a ruler or a crack gauge. You want to measure the width at a few different spots because, these things are rarely the same width all the way down. And here is a pro tip. Snap a picture with the ruler right there next to the crack. Documenting it like this is pure gold. Why? Because a crack that's actively getting bigger is a way bigger deal than one that's been sitting there unchanged for years. That photo is your baseline. It's your evidence.
Okay, so you've got your measurement, but the width isn't the whole story. Not even close. The shape and the direction of a crack, well, that's like a fingerprint. It tells a story. It reveals exactly what kind of stress your house is under. So let's learn how to read these patterns.
First up, we've got the stair-step crack. What's so interesting about this one is that you can see it literally following the path of least resistance. It creates this zigzag pattern in brick or block walls, crawling right along the mortar lines. This pattern is a classic, textbook sign that the foundation is moving and basically pulling the wall apart at its weakest points, the mortar joints. Next, the diagonal crack. Now this one often looks a lot more alarming, running at about a 45-degree angle. This is a telltale sign of something called differential settlement. All that means is that one corner of your foundation is sinking faster than the rest of the house, maybe because the soil underneath has shifted. And that creates this intense, focused stress that just fractures the wall diagonally. And our third key pattern to look for, multiple vertical cracks. So if you see a bunch of parallel up and down cracks all clustered together in one area, that's a whole different story. It usually suggests that the entire section of the foundation right below that wall is either sinking or maybe being pushed up, but it's happening uniformly. It points to a more widespread issue that's affecting a bigger chunk of your foundation.
So here's a really crucial point. A major structural problem, it's like a sloppy criminal. It almost never leaves just one piece of evidence behind. That crack is your main clue, for sure. But now we have to look around the house for its accomplices. These other signs are what will really help confirm your suspicions.
Let's run through the accomplice checklist. Are there any doors or windows that have suddenly started sticking for no apparent reason? That means their frames are being twisted. Stand back and look down your walls. Do you see any weird bulges or bowing? Here's a fun one. Put a marble on the floor. Does it roll on its own? And finally, go back to the crack and tap gently around the edges. If you hear a hollow sound, that can mean the drywall has separated from the studs behind it, a clear sign of movement.
So let's put this all together. Here's the difference in a nutshell. Cosmetic cracks, they're usually super thin hairlines with no real pattern to them. Often it's just from paint shrinking. But structural cracks, those are the ones we've been investigating. They're wider than 1/8 of an inch, they follow those telltale stair-step or diagonal patterns, and they often go deep, right through the wall material itself.
All right, you've done the detective work. You measured, you analyzed the patterns, you looked for accomplices. You have all your evidence laid out. Now it's time to make the final call. Is it time to bring in the pros?
And the rule here is actually pretty simple. If your crack is wider than 1/8 of an inch, and that and is really important, and you've found any of those other warning signs like a sticking door or a sloping floor, your investigation is over. It is time to pick up the phone and call a structural engineer for an expert opinion. This is not something you want to wait on. Don't hesitate.
I know you might be thinking, is it really worth the cost?
And the answer is 1000% yes. They have tools we just don't, like super sensitive levels that can spot a floor slope you'd never see with your own eyes. They can pinpoint the root cause. Is it the soil? Is it water pressure? And look, an assessment now is going to cost you a tiny fraction of what an emergency foundation repair will cost you down the road. Think of it as a smart, proactive investment in your biggest asset.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Your gut feeling as a homeowner, that's valuable. If something feels off, you need to pay attention to that. But for the definitive diagnosis and for the right fix, that's when you turn to the experts. You now have the knowledge to be the first and most important line of defense for your own home.